Alright, what's up guys? My name is Zack and today I am driving a 2025 Toyota RAV4 Hybrid XSE. Up front is a 2.5 liter inline 4 as well as a hybrid system, and down below is an eCVT. Now I am super excited to be driving this Toyota RAV4 Hybrid for one reason. The RAV4 has been completely redesigned, refreshed, redone for the 2026 model year, shown here with its press images. Now, I haven't driven that vehicle yet, so today we're going to be saying goodbye to this current generation of RAV4. It lasted from 2019 until 2025, and I have to say it's been quite the wonderful car. But if you would like to submit your own vehicle and have it reviewed here on the channel, you can head on over to my website, zackpradel.com/submit. It's a quick and easy submission form. It takes under a minute to fill out, and I come out to you. And if you'd like to see all my videos weeks or sometimes months in advance, you can head on over to my Patreon for only $5 a month. But let's get back to that 2.5 liter as well as the hybrid powertrain. Well, there were three powertrains offered for this generation of Toyota RAV4. You had this hybrid, you had a non-hybrid 2.5 liter, just gasoline only, and then above this you had the Prime, which was the 2.5 liter paired to a plug-in hybrid system. That was one of the most powerful Toyotas made in its era. That has all-electric driving capabilities, but comes with quite the price jump. I'll leave my review of that at the end of this video. This is the hybrid, and I really think that this is the best of both worlds. It's going to be a little bit more expensive than the base model non-hybrid. However, you're going to save money compared to the RAV4 Prime, and you're still going to get great fuel economy. You're still going to be able to drive in EV mode at slow speeds, not nearly for as long as you would with the Prime, but again, parking lots, bank drive-thrus, you're going to be in EV mode and you're going to be sipping on gas. The owner averages 35 miles of the gallon around town, which is a fantastic number. Something to note as well is that the new Toyota RAV4 got rid of the base non-hybrid option. So if you don't want a hybrid, 2025 is the final year that you can find a non-hybrid RAV4. Something to note. Now, like I said, paired to it is an eCVT. It's never given me an issue. I like it, and definitely in hybrid situations and applications, it actually makes a lot of sense and works well. Last but not least, this is all-wheel drive. Now, the hybrid came with standard all-wheel drive because it has an electric motor out at the back. There's actually two electric motors on board with this, front and rear. How does it feel to drive the Toyota RAV4 Hybrid? Well, in all honesty, it's a rather boring normal experience. And that is actually a very good thing. It's average. It does the job. There's no weird beeps or squeaks. It just does it happily. Visibility is good. I like the ride height. You do sit a little bit higher than other vehicles. That's a big bonus of SUVs. And so it's plain and straightforward, but sometimes that's what you want. You want a little bit of stability in your life, and the RAV4 Hybrid gives that. With that stuff out of the way, let's talk about the interior. Well, in front of me, I have a digital gauge as well as three physical gauges. Off to the left, we have our Eco and Power gauge. This basically acts as a tachometer, as well as it tells you when the vehicle is charging the battery. Off to the right, we have our fuel and coolant temperature, and then in the center, you do get that screen for your speedometer and other necessary information. Now, I like this. However, it can be just a touch too much to look at. There is kind of a lot going on, but that's true of even modern Toyotas as well. On the steering wheel, on the left, we do have our selectors for that gauge cluster screen, as well as our go back phone, volume, and voice commands. And off to the right, we have our adaptive cruise and lane keep assist, as well as our skip track. Off to the left, we do have a climate control vent, a little shelf, gauge dimmer switch, automatic high beams, heated wipers, heated steering wheel, and our tailgate button. And moving on to the door, we have the latch to get in and out, power mirrors, power locks, and power windows. Moving into the center, we do have the screen. This is our infotainment display. It does have a decently nice backup camera for what it is. And of course, it does have wireless Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, and things like that. I like this screen, and if you like smaller screens or if you don't like big screens, this is the one that you're going to want to get because the new RAV4 moves to a giant screen. Similarly, down below we have 2 climate control vents with a hazard switch, but we have physical climate controls. This is the final year for physical climate controls in the RAV4. The 2026 moves towards screen-operated climate controls. So if these are important to you, you'll want the 2025. You do have dual zone climate, auto, fan speed, things like that. And down below we have our traction control off, our heated seats, as well as a 12-volt outlet and USB-A. Then in the center console, we do have our power parking brake and brake hold to the left. We have our drive modes for trail, Eco, Normal, and EV. And of course, we could put it up into sport mode with that dial. And then off to the right, we have the shifter. The shifter is a very standard Toyota parts bin shifter. Nothing really new here, but it is pretty nice. Down below that, we do have cup holders, so we will do a big friggin' bottle test here in the Toyota RAV4 XSE Hybrid from 2025. And unfortunately, like all of its siblings the last several years, it fails the big friggin' bottle test. Then we do have the center console. It does have 2 USB-Cs in, however, I don't show personal owned vehicle center consoles because it has a lot of things in them that the owner might not want on YouTube. And the seats. The seats are fine. They're this material that isn't quite leather. I think it's just kind of their nice name for vinyl. It looks nice, it works well, easy to clean, things like that. It's a nice, simple material, and I don't mind it at all. However, speaking of seats, we do have back seats, so let's go do a back seat review. All right, we're in the back of the 2025 Toyota RAV4 Hybrid XSE, and a couple of things to note. First of all, knee space. My knees are touching the seat in front of me. The owner, Harry, is a taller guy, and so he has his seat moved back probably a little bit more than normal, and so if it were in a more normal position, my knees would be fine. Headroom is absolutely great. Now, I did mention the owner because he walked into the Toyota dealer ready to buy the Toyota Prius. However, him being tall, he fit better in the RAV4. So if you are cross-shopping a Prius and RAV4, and you are taller or on the taller side, you might want to look more at the RAV4. Just a little word of advice. I'm 5'11", not a small guy, and I fit back here very happily. We do have 2 climate vents back here, sometimes overlooked by manufacturers. We have 2 USB-C chargers back here. We do have fold-out cup holders, and the blue stitching carries on back here with the seats. They're relatively comfortable, and they do the job good enough. It's a good back seat, definitely better than like a Corolla and even maybe the Prius of the era, which I say of the era, which is this year, but you know what I mean. Good backseat space. If that's a priority to you, RAV4 has that. I would say the CRV, the Honda CRV, has better backseat space. The Mazda's probably pretty on par with this, so if backseat's the big priority, I would say the CRV feels the nicest, but the RAV4 is a safer bet engine-wise. The CRV has that 1.5 liter it's not great, oil dilution. Anyway, let's talk about the trunk. Something interesting is that Toyota just started using this badge or this logo on the RAV4, and now they're redesigning it. So that is their Beyond Zero badging for their battery electric and electric vehicles. Power operated tailgate around the back, absolutely love that, and as you can see, it has plenty of cargo space. Nothing compromised back here about the space, and even though it is a hybrid, it doesn't have as big of a battery as the RAV4 Prime, so you don't really sacrifice any space back here. You do get a nice privacy cover as well. Come up here, big chunky button here for the rear tailgate, and it is power operated back down as well. Now we gotta talk about the looks, and I've never really fallen in love with the looks of this generation. I do think it's handsome. I think it works well. I think it looks good enough for the application and for what this vehicle needs to do. It still looks modern here in 2025. It doesn't look like an old, outdated vehicle, so I do really appreciate that. But overall, do I think that this is a drop-dead hottie? No, it's the girl next door. And some of us prefer that. With all of that being said, let's get on to my final thoughts. What do I think driving the 2025 Toyota RAV4 Hybrid, quite possibly for the final time. Well, let's get the downsides out of the way. I don't like the gauge cluster. That's it. It's a short list. Don't love the gauge cluster. I think this generation of RAV4 did a lot of things very, very well. A, it was very accessible. #1 selling car in America. Bada bing, bada boom. It looks good enough. It drives well enough. It's sort of that everyman character, right? Everyone can love the RAV4 for something or other. I prefer the interior of the Mazda CX-5, and I prefer how the Mazda CX-5 drives. But as of now, there's still no CX-5 hybrid. As of now, Toyota reliability remains on top. The pricing, very competitive. And so, the RAV4 deserved its place up at the top. But now, I get to look at this vehicle in hindsight. They're not making any more of these, at least not after the end of this year. Production is starting to ramp up for the 2026 refreshed version. And I have to say that, quite honestly, makes me a little sad. I did like this car, and this car holds a special place in my heart. I started doing YouTube full-time in 2018, right as this model was debuting for the 2019 model year. And I remember this was one of the first cars that I was able to drive at a dealership that was cutting edge. It was new. It was the all-new RAV4. I drove a black one with silver wheels. I believe it was an LE. And since then, I have driven tons of other ones. I've driven the plug-in hybrid. I've driven the standard non-hybrid. It is currently -8 degrees. I have grown and changed alongside of this generation of RAV4. This is the pandemic car. It came out barely a year before the pandemic started. We went through COVID with this was our COVID RAV4. Seeing these pop up on the streets, people were panic buying cars, and when they were panic buying cars, they were panic buying this. This car saw the astronomical markup that Toyota dealers were doing, and then the fall back to normalcy. This car was there when people started to go back to work, and they hadn't really driven their new RAV4 all that much because they didn't need a car. But now people started to commute again and say, hey, man, this RAV4 I bought a year ago, this is some good stuff. When I first reviewed this generation, I was living at my parents' commuting to college. And now I have a home. I have my own house, my own garage, more importantly. And so I say this is a goodbye. It's really just a see you later, because I'm going to see this on the road for probably the next 20 to 30 years. RAV4s have a tendency to stick around, and for good reason. But this generation is going to be talked about less and less. And I don't want you to think that that's because it isn't good, or it isn't loved, or it isn't deserving. It's going to fall out of the spotlight, but honestly, it doesn't deserve to. It deserves to remain in the spotlight for years to come because it is just such a good car. I really, truly believe that this generation of RAV4 might be one of the best automobiles that the Toyota Motor Corporation has pushed out their factory doors. That is not hyperbole. That is not to woo the owner Harry into liking me and giving me more cars to review. This is his only car. It's that good, and I love it that much. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Huge thank you to Harry for letting me borrow his 2025 Toyota RAV4 Hybrid. He's been absolutely wonderful to work with, really down-to-earth guy. He's been really, really fun to talk to, and I appreciate him having me out here today. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I hope you enjoyed this 7-year journey with the RAV4 that we've taken here on the channel, from its debut inaugural review to now the closing statements, the final arguments, the last hurrah for this generation of RAV4. It's not a goodbye, it's a see you later. But honestly, I wish it was neither. Take care, guys.